Hello everybody, this is JD again, and today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my plans. This is what I would like to see during my terms as president. One, get rid of our 14,000 page tax code. Get something down to the size of something reasonable. Our tax system is so messed up, so ineffective. It puts the burden of the taxes almost completely on the middle class, exempting everybody else. That needs to change. I suggest starting with a sales tax, vice an income tax. Instead of a payroll tax, we have a sales tax. That has been the traditional way our government had raised money. Now, truthfully, yes, Congress's job is to raise revenue. And the Constitution says that. So I can't go in there and say, okay, I'm president, we're changing. No, it's not going to work that way. But if I provide strong leadership, I can persuade them. Now, I want you all to seriously think about this. Why is our tax program so messed up? Because we needed to raise money for wars. And we're kind of like in one war right after another war, right after another war. So, by Congress raising money the way they are, there is no room to raise for war. We're having a major deficit because there's not much more we can do. We are picking the pockets of the American middle class, the American average citizen, almost clean just to fight wars. If you remember your European history, that was one of the major problems France had before the French Revolution. They were fighting all kinds of wars and picking the citizens' pockets clean. Then they had another problem called their economy. Now, our economy is a capitalistic economy. And a capitalistic economy, almost want to say capitalistic comedy, capitalistic economy is based on a sound foundation of creating new wealth. You have to create new wealth for capitalism to function. Now, creating new wealth is taking something that's not of great value, do something to it, and make that something of great value. The simplest way for me to explain that to you is a farmer. The farmer takes a seed, which is of a minute value, plants it in the ground, cultivates it, grows it into a plant, and creates food that can feed people, which is now something of great value. By doing that to the seed, he had created new wealth, because the value of the seed, let's say, is 1/1000th of a cent, to just use as an example, has now gone to, let's say, a bushel of corn, which is now $22. So he created wealth. Now, the same thing goes for manufacturing. You take raw materials, which has a very low value, you take it into a factory and manufacture it into a product that has a much higher value than the raw materials that went in. Now you've created wealth. So now we have natural manufacturing, which is growing from a seed to fruit to vegetables. I know it's a farmer, a cattleman, a dairy farmer, a farmer who grows grapes for wine. All these people are taking something of less value and making it into greater value. That is a natural manufacturing. Then we have the man-made manufacture, and that is taking raw materials, processing it through science, economics, heat, whatever, and creating items of great value. Both of them have to work together within a country to develop a top-notch economy. Missing any one of them, and you have a faltering economy. So as president, I got to see to it that our natural manufacturing, example, a lumberjack who brings down trees, creates wood, and a cabinet maker takes the wood and makes cabinets for your house, your home, desks, beds, furniture. You see, manufacturing, both sides have to be in this country. We need it. We have to create wealth, new wealth, not recycled wealth, new wealth. Now you might say, well, does that mean we don't? No, recycling is still creating new wealth. Recycling an object into something more useful, a piece of garbage into something useful, you created something of little value into something of more value. That's creating new wealth. Recycled wealth is you buying a brand new car. You drive it for a couple years, then you sell it. Well, the car's going to sell for less value, but it's being recycled. It's creating a recycled wealth. It's giving you a little bit more back from your initial investment. So for the person who owns that car, it's creating a little more wealth for them, but they lose the car. That is a recycled wealth. You selling your furniture, your used furniture. You selling your home to somebody else. That is a recycled. Somebody who builds a new home is creating new wealth. Someone who sells an existing home is selling recycled wealth. The difference between the two is new wealth has a greater value. Recycled wealth is a lot less. A lot of your second-class societies deal with recycled wealth or service economy. So that's my bit about economy. We as the United States needs to get into creating new wealth. Manufacturing, both natural and manufactured or man-made. Now, our taxes. Oh my God, our taxes. What can I say? 14,000 pages in excess. That's not a tax code. That's an encyclopedia of the American history of tax screw-ups. Because each new code is a screw-up from the previous. Someone trying to rip somebody else off. Congress has to sit down seriously and take about 2 years, throw out that whole 14,000 pages, and come up with a fair, equitable tax system for everybody in the country. I believe it should be based on the sales tax and go from there. I'm not disagreeing with corporate taxes, but they should be a lot less. Companies that do manufacturing should want to come to the United States, not leave the United States as a tax shelter. We can do it. We just got to want to do it. Now, our government, it's got to switch its gears. Our government operates in quote unquote crisis management. It accomplishes absolutely nothing unless there's a crisis. And then they're throwing everything at it. It's like a blind man with a handful of darts throwing it at a dartboard. He's just throwing it all at it. Don't know where he's throwing it, but hopes something hits that dartboard. Why do I say that? Look at the way we're handling everything. It has to be a crisis before the president or Congress does anything about it. The president's going to create a czar for handling special diseases, which should have been in existence. Actually, should have been that guy who I think stepped down, quit, or got fired. I don't know which yet. I haven't figured that one out yet. Our branch of, disease control disease, whatever you want to call it, it's totally dysfunctional. And it proved it. As long as everything is going okay, it works great. This Center for Disease Control. It works perfect as long as there's no diseases. But something came up. Next thing you know, somebody who has been exposed to Ebola is on a plane traveling around the country with hundreds of other people who are now, those hundreds of other people who may have been exposed, is on planes traveling around the country with hundreds of other people. So we got thousands of people traveling around the country. Oh my gosh. Well, the Center for Disease Control screwed up. Plain and simple. So let's fire the guy and put another guy in head of everybody. Right, this guy was supposed to be in charge of everybody. ISIS. When we were being warned by Syria and other people about ISIS, we sat back and did nothing. That's not our problem. Whoops, now it's becoming our problem. And we're trying to handle it like we're handling the Ebola problem. Handful of darts, throw it at the board. Hopefully we hit something right. Truth is, both of them listen to what's going on. Congress got this great idea. Let's block all flights from those 3 countries in Africa. Yeah, we'll block them, completely block them. No flights, nobody coming or going from other countries. Except for when I was a kid, I remember once when I was in Vermont and New Hampshire, I was driving on this road, and next thing I know, I came up to this big 4-lane highway, and I started out in Vermont or New Hampshire, but the 4-lane highway said on the sign as I went by, Canada 1. CAN 1. I wasn't in the United States no more. I didn't go through no customs, no gates, no fences, no nothing. How much of our northern border is that open? Almost all of it. I mean, by the major cities you have it and stuff, but if you go down and drive through Montana and stuff, you can cross into Canada and never even know it. All of a sudden you see road signs identifying roads that aren't American roads. So if we block everybody flying from our 3 favorite countries in Africa, they go to Europe, from Europe. They catch a flight to Canada. From there, they can drive into the United States. Whoa, we won't know who they are, when they got here, how they got here. And all of a sudden, we got people all over the country that's got Ebola. Smart move, Congress. Smart move. The proper way is anybody coming into the country from Ebola, from Africa, these three countries, should be examined. If there's any questions, placed in quarantine. Any minute questions. They might have the flu, they might have this, they are placed in quarantine. Once the quarantine period passes, they do not break out with Ebola, they are free to go. And tell people come to the United States to plan on the possibility. Whether you're an American citizen or not, you could end up in quarantine if you are showing any traces of flu-like symptoms. You have a temperature above normal, which for me will be pretty odd because my normal temperature is 96.8. And so when I get a 98.6, I got a fever. So that's another thing that shows you crisis management. Crisis comes along and now we try to manage the problem. But it's too late. The horse is already out of the barn when a crisis happens. Our government has to change its point of view towards the people, towards the nation, and how it handles problems. Instead of being crisis management, be management crisis. Manage it so that when the crisis comes, you are able to handle it and it does not become a crisis. For example, Dallas. If those people were properly trained, properly educated, properly maintained, all the people, including Center for Disease, all of them, because none of them were. That man who got Ebola may not have died because as soon as he came in and said, I was from there, I don't feel good, he would have been thrown straight in to quarantine, been managing the situation, everybody doing the proper procedures for isolation and sterilization. The man might have lived, and the two nurses might not have had Ebola, and the disease may not be spreading throughout the country. That is management crisis. You manage everything so when the crisis comes along, you can handle the job. ISIS, we're too busy telling countries how they must be to listen to the warnings they give us when they give it to us. I seem to remember the president of Syria telling us about ISIS, saying, these are terrorists, dangerous terrorists. They need to be taken care of. That's what we're trying to do. Instead, we want to topple him. We don't like the way he runs his country. So what happens? Now we got a real big crisis. Instead of us saying, okay, it's up to the people of Syria to decide how they shall be governed. And they will choose their leaders, not the United States. You do realize when I become president, whoever's president of Syria will be president of Syria. I will respect the Syrians. No, it's each and every one of the Syrians. They got to choose. Now, let's say the rebels say, well, we didn't vote. Whose fault was that? Well, we were too busy fighting each other. I'm not going to disagree with you on that fact. But the truth is, he was voted in. Let's try to sit down with him and see if we can reason this out. Instead of trying to dog on the hose of him because we don't like the way the Syrian people choose their leaders. I'm sorry. That's not us. I mean, look at the United States. How many people in this country don't vote? Oh, and we got Obama. But we deal with it. We accept it. You don't see half the country doggone with guns shooting the other half of the country. No, we know in 4 years, we know in 2016, he's going to be gone. And hopefully, if you're listening to what I'm saying, in 2017, I will be sworn in. And we will start on a different path. Not one of political parties, but one of serving the people. Ooh, dirty word, isn't that? Serving the people. They say it, but they don't know how to practice it. Because, look, Obama had a tough decision to make. He had to cancel 2 campaign dinners for the Ebola crisis that they're trying to manage now, which, if he would have been a person who managed crisis, he wouldn't have had to do, because they would have had it under control. He could have gone on another vacation. I mean, look at how they handled Ferguson. People getting uneasy, unrest. Did anyone from the federal government go to him and say, hey, tell me what the problem is? Here's the way I feel, personally. Some of you ain't going to like it. If what the people say happened, that this man knelt down and raised his hands and then was shot by that police officer deserves to be in jail right now. Trial by jury, I would not disagree with. And it's going to be tough trying to do a trial by, because it's got to be his peers. So we're going to have to find people who are experienced with enforcing the law to be his jury. That's what the jury is going to have to be made up of. And then the evidence presented. That's going to be a tough trial. But it has to be done that way. Tried by a jury of his peers. His peers are law enforcement personnel. Boy, going to be a tough jury to find there. That's what it has to be. That's the way it's got to be. That's what our Constitution says. And all in this country, whether you're the humblest person that walks the street or the most senior political leader, are not above the law. You're only above the law when you're to and from and attending Congress. That's it. When they go home on a break, they can be arrested. Once they get home, they are not attending Congress and they're not to and from. They can be arrested. That's why the Constitution is written the way it is. If they want to break the law, they can pay the penalty, but it's not while Congress is in session. So, people, JD said a lot here. Hope you listened. And I wish you all the best of luck. You all have a nice day. And think about what JD is saying. 2016 is coming. He is not rich. Look around me. I'm doing it here in the store. My store. And you all need to realize we don't need a rich man or a political party member or a politician for our next president. We need a person who truly believes in the Constitution, a person who knows what to serve the people. In other words, serve your supervisors, which is you, the people, and lead the country while serving you, the people. We need a president who can respect other nations throughout the world, whether they're like our government or not, whether we agree with the way they are governed or not, and be there to help all that need help, while maintaining that the American citizen always will and shall come first in every aspect of whatever decisions Congress or the president makes. If we're going to feed the hungry of the world, we make sure we feed the children of this nation. If we're going to educate the children of the world, we make sure the children in this nation gets education. If we're going to develop the economic system within another nation, we will do whatever we can to develop and promote our economic system, first and foremost. Yes, you, the people, must always come first in the United States of America by the government of the United States of America. The federal government must always look how to serve you, the people, the most efficient and best way possible. Not political parties, not tell you what you need or what you want, but listen to you and take what you say and make it into what you want, what you truly need. That's all I can tell you. That's what JD's going to do. Bring your voice to Washington, D.C. Make somehow the government serve. And that is not going to be JD alone. It's going to be us together. Because remember, JD alone is only one person. Us together can make it all happen. That's the promise JD gives you. That I will drag you, if I have to, your voice to Washington, D.C., and we together will fix our nation. Yes, we together. And somehow, some way, turn our government around so that the federal government is there to serve the people and do not look at the people to serve the government. Thank you. This is JD.